Hi, Dan. Thanks for coming on to the Executive Digest and giving us your profound hot takes that executives and C-suite folks really need to be thinking about. So I just have a few questions that will allow you to share your brilliance, and this will benefit our listeners. So first, tell me a bit about your company and your role in it.
Yeah. My company is called Octane11, and we help B2B marketers and agencies bring together all of their marketing data, ads, social media, emails, webinars, podcasts, chatbots, influencers, just everything that marketers are doing. We bring that into one unified dashboard. And that way they can see what's working across all their tactics and campaigns, and then use AI to improve performance and drive better results. And so it's specifically focused on B2B marketing because as opposed to B2C marketing, business to consumer, where you can reach lots of people with big ads or broad reach, B2B is super niche because not everyone's in the market to buy your servers or your airplanes or your fleet fueling systems. So you have to really find niche audiences. And so you're using B2B marketers are using lots of different tactics in a kind of a patchwork of ways so that we help them bring that together and synthesize it and bring some signal out of that noise.
And of course, clearly, like everyone, you need an AI strategy. How are you guys using AI?
We use it on the front end and the back end. So for our clients, like we're typically synthesizing 20 or more different channels. So we use AI to help synthesize all those channels and identify not just individuals that are being reached on these different tactics like emails or social media, but what companies are being reached in those channels, because that's what matters most to B2B marketers. So on the front end, we use AI to synthesize that data. And then once that data is synthesized in our platform, we use the AI to analyze the data. So what's happening? What's working well? What needs improvement? What should I do next? What happens if I try this tactic? What do I expect the outcome to be? So the AI is amazing, can train on your data within your company, but also all the data across all of our clients is normalized and aggregated and anonymized. So the AI can learn across all of that. So it's a really exciting time to be using AI.
That's great. All right, good. What's the biggest risk and challenges that you're seeing in your industry, and how are you solving them?
The biggest risks, I would say, are the trend in all of marketing, but I think maybe even more acutely in B2B marketing, is the consumer behaviors is changing so much. And that means that the kinds of tools that marketers use to reach their prospects and clients is constantly changing. And the tools are becoming more fragmented. Just to take AI as one example, like a year ago, people weren't using what we call LLMs or chatbots to like research products. And now it's becoming like a primary mode for a lot of buyers is to go right into ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude to ask them questions about what products should I use? What's the right product for this use case? And that's their first discovery and engagement with a product or in B2B, for our clients, a B2B solution. And so as a B2B marketer, what does that mean for how I reach and engage with my prospects and clients? You got to rethink that altogether. So that behavior is changing, which means marketers need to change. And then when it comes to what we do every day, how you analyze your marketing activity and the results, that's changing too. And so we're helping our clients to do that every day. So we are rolling out new capabilities that integrate with the LLMs and then other tools like that. So it's constantly changing.
I think I just had a use case for that today as I started shopping for dental insurance for our company, and my first stop was ChatGPT.
100%. But, and by the way, like it is knowable which portion of your clients are discovering you through those channels. What's not super well understood today is how does ChatGPT decide which companies it's going to refer people to or that's going to mention? That's a very fast evolving field, but it's not super well understood. So there are, just like there were in the previous generation, search engine optimization tools that optimize your website or your content so that Google would rank you highly in their results. Like that same phenomenon's happening with these LLMs, these large language models, so that companies can be higher up in the results. And so that's still a little bit of a black box, but getting the results and getting traffic from those platforms is knowable. And we're helping our clients understand that where they're getting the most traffic, and they can do experimentation to see how they can improve their rankings and drive more traffic.
What's one of your favorite use cases of a breakthrough that your clients have, and what was the special part of your secret sauce that allowed them to get it?
We've had examples where we're surfacing great tools and some of our clients aren't using them, but they're seeing that in our platform. Hey, like here's a tool that I never even knew existed, but I should be using that because it looks like it's doing really well for others in the ecosystem. And an example of that would be, I think one that came up like last year was like Google Discovery ads. So that's a specific format that Google was offering, and it's a pre-roll on YouTube videos. That's like super targeted to B2B audiences. And it wasn't well understood. So the cost was low relatively because it wasn't getting bidded up. And the performance was great. Captive audience on a pre-roll before a video with a targeted audience, and they were performing incredibly well. So we were able to say to our clients, hey, if you're not using this now, you should definitely use it and try it out. And so we have examples like that coming up all the time, the wisdom of the crowd.
So the next 5 years, everything, the game's changing quarterly now. What do you think the biggest challenges for your company and your industry over the next 5 years would be? And what are you doing now to get ahead of that?
I think it's really two things. One is we're going to continue on this trend of more fragmentation, more complexity, because getting the attention and marketing is really about breaking through the clutter and getting the attention of prospects and customers. It's just getting harder and harder because there's more digital touch points, there's more noise. So there's always going to be new ways to get attention, and finding those ways and jumping on them super quickly, like that's going to be the main job for marketers. And as these kind of tools proliferate, like you're just going to have to keep jumping on them. And that makes the job of a CMO, a chief marketing officer, super difficult. And I'll just give you another example on that. Like you may have noticed, like on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is a great format, a great place to reach customers in a very targeted and brand resonant way. You may have noticed like earlier this year, you started seeing a lot of videos, like a stacked video where you'd have a talking head and then a talking head on the bottom and then like the subtitles like in the middle. That's become a very common format for 5-10 second videos. And no one was doing it. And then all of a sudden some folks were doing it. And now like everyone's doing it. And so like my feed is just full of stacked videos like that. We do it for our videos. And so it was good because it was like eye catching and it's a really nice format. But now that everyone's doing it, like you got to move on to the next thing. And so there's new creative types and styles and they're constantly changing. So that's just, I think those cycles are moving faster, and it just is creating more clutter and more formats and more styles. And so marketers have to get a handle on that. So that's one big trend that's just never, it's just not going to end and probably accelerate. And then obviously the other one is like with the AI and like the numbers of use cases, like the way you could use that to proliferate your content and customize your content, or you've got new platforms like these LLMs to engage your customers and prospects. That's a whole new field that companies are needing to become more and more sharp on, making sense of these tools. How do they incorporate them into their marketing strategies, into their analytics? Those are all very big. And because we're an analytics platform that's synthesizing the data, like, of course, we're like very front footed on that, on all that. And a lot of our clients look to us to help them make sense of those new tools and new formats and new capabilities. And so we're squarely on that trend.
Okay. Now here's where you get to show your brilliance. And from your experience now as a CEO of a company, what if you could give one or two critical things that other CEOs and other senior executives need to be thinking about right now? in running their businesses? What are they?
And when it comes to like the marketing side, it's two things again. One is like marketers may think that they're in control of the message and the story, but they're really not. It's really the buyers that are in control. They're generating content, user generated content, engagement on social, on LinkedIn, sites like Reddit. Like your message, like you can influence and get your marketing message out there, but then it really takes on a life of its own with like generated content and engagement. So if you're trying to like control the chaos, it's a really tough way to go. You need to embrace the chaos and see how you can like both shape it and for the signal that comes back to synthesize it to make sense of it. So that's one piece. The other big piece I would say is again on the AI, like you just have to stop what you're doing and everything that you're either building or any part of your business to stop and say, how should we be doing this using the tools that are available with AI? And that's changing like week by week, month by month. There are new capabilities coming out from all of the major LLMs, like every few weeks. And even the tools that you use, they're changing constantly. I'll take one example for a software company where we're developing new software capabilities all the time. Like we use a product called Figma, which is a great way to design products before they're getting built in the very kind of pixel perfect way, exactly how a product's going to be built, like a software platform. They just released a couple weeks ago a new capability where you can just type into Figma, this is what I'm trying to achieve with this new capability, this new visualization, like just design it for me using our existing kind of standard palette and look and feel and components. And it will do that immediately and give you like an 80% ready visualization of what you're trying to build. And then from there, you can make adjustments and nudge it and iterate it from there. But that's like incredibly powerful. So that's a new capability that didn't exist 6 weeks ago. So if you are in the product development and product design world, like you need to say, hey, we got to change our process to take advantage of that. And that changes how you do things, how you envision them, how you talk about them, how much work goes into preparing like business requirements documents, all those kinds of things. Like it's changed. You need to rethink everything that you're doing. And maybe that sounds scary, but I think it's very exciting.
How does your team react to that? And how has it changed how you manage your people?
I think the team is equally excited, but they don't always know about these things because we're all working on our day-to-day jobs and our inbox is already overloaded and our roadmap is already overloaded with things that we've committed to building in the way we've been thinking about them forever. And you really need to like proactively stop and say, hey, we need to rethink this with the new tools that are available. And I think what's interesting is that for people who don't have a full inbox, don't have a full roadmap that they're already thinking about, like they may be fresher on what's new and available because they're just spending their days like watching keynotes from Google and Figma on what's the latest. So you need to create time for that.
That's excellent. Now is the magic question of what are two podcasts, blogs, tools, articles, books that you want to recommend to others?
When it comes to what all is happening in digital marketing, there is just a ton of activity and innovation. So like the ones that I listen to, there's really three podcasts that I listen to, plus a bonus one. So there's the Ad Tech God. If you look that one up, it's a great one. Like they're talking with all but just top thought leaders in the space. Marketecture is another one, which is great, talking with like all like kind of top leaders in the space. And then also another one called Open Market. Those are kind of like the three, like I would say triumvirate in our ad tech and martech space. And then of course, Octane11, we have our own podcast called 11 Minutes with Octane11, where we're talking with specifically B2B marketers about their challenges and solutions how they're solving these challenges on a day-to-day basis with real, like, practical, hard-hitting capabilities. So I love those for ad tech and martech. General business, like the ones that I listen to, like I love the 20-minute VC with Harry Stebbings, which is just interviewing like venture capitalists and entrepreneurs for like fast growth, particularly oriented around like enterprise SaaS. So that one's great. It's always like fascinating and inspiring, I would say. And then I always listen to the Prof G pod with Scott Galloway. I think you get like your general business and politics and geopolitical fix through that. So it's always a good one.
That's a great list, and we'll get all that information. But I'm going to push you on this one. Putting 11 minutes with Octane11, which I think is a very cool name, aside, pick your top two. If people could only listen to two, what would they be?
I'd say probably in our field, like marketecture and open market are the two that I just find myself like going into all the time. There's another one that's really related to that one, not to add more, but there's been appearing at a podcast too, which always has really good stuff in our category too. But there's a lot happening in our category. So
What was the other one?
Aperium, A-P-R-I-A-M, A-P-E-R-I-A-M. It's one of the investors in our company, and they've got a podcast around all things happening in ad tech, martech.
Okay. Awesome. This has been wonderful. And now I'm going to give you one of our traditional unexpected questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What is your favorite vegetable?
And the one that comes to mind for me is a cucumber. Is that a vegetable or a fruit? I feel like it's.
I need to look that one up.
Technically, it might be a fruit, but I'm going to go with it.
Fruit, but we will do that because
I like cucumber. I put it in my, because why? I don't want to cut you off.
they say is intelligence is knowing that cucumber is a fruit, but wisdom is not using it in a fruit salad.
Okay, I've never used it in a fruit salad, so that's good news. But I like my spicy cucumbers from Din Tai Fung. I've always put them in a turkey sandwich. But I recently found out that General Grant, who led the U.S. Army in the Civil War and then became president and is buried in Grant's tomb on the Upper West Side of New York City, his go-to meal was cucumbers with vinegar during the Civil War. A lot of people were tight on rations. Anytime they got like fancy things every once in a while, everyone would dive on it, but he'd say, no, thank you. I just want to eat my cucumbers and vinegar.
All right. On that final note of cucumbers and vinegar, I want to thank you so much, Dan Rosenberg, CEO of Octane11. And thanks so much for sharing some of your wisdom with us today.
Yeah, thank you. That was fun. Great to reconnect.
Awesome.